Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to episode 14 of the InkPod podcast. We have here today Andrew James, longtime friend and supplier of RB Digital, who's the president of PMITape. Thanks for joining, Andrew.
Well, thank you for having me on. Nice talking to you guys.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. I'm excited
Yeah.
to hear this story because I've seen you guys at trade shows for the past few years, and I'm always intrigued as to how do you guys get into the business, like the niche business of selling tape to tape to screen printers. Like that's a super niche market, right? So how do you guys get into it? What's the background? I'm excited
For
to hear
sure.
it.
Yeah, so a lot of people ask that question because that's exactly what we do. It's a very niche business, and we kind of focus on niches. And so not many people know this. PMI stands for Packaging Materials Incorporated. And back in 1990, my dad started PMI as a packaging supply company, really selling custom packaging supplies to local businesses. So it'd be custom bags, specialty boxes, specialty tapes. And throughout the first 10 years of the business, it kind of morphed into more of the specialty tape side and found more of a niche there. And growing up, I always knew I wanted to do this. I do have a brother. He's never been interested in the family business, but this is always something that I've known I wanted to do. And as it kind of transitioned more into specialty tapes, we got all of our tape contract coded. So we would find other adhesive coaters and adhesive mixers, and we would come up with a design, but we would have someone else produce it. And I went to school for industrial engineering, kind of knowing that I wanted to bring the manufacturing in-house when I graduated. And that's exactly what we did. We spent a couple of years really identifying the best way to make the product. And we knew how it was made with the contract manufacturers, but we wanted to make sure that if we're going to do it, we're doing it the most efficient way and with equipment that sets us up for other niche products as well. And that's what we did. So shortly after I graduated, we really focused heavily on the tape side of the business, and we actually completely discontinued the packaging side. So even though we're PMITape and PMI stands for packaging materials, we don't sell packaging materials. Yesterday, someone called, found us on Google because we're on Google as Packaging Materials Incorporated. And she's like, hey, can I pick up some bubble mailers today? And we're like, we don't do packaging. And she goes, well, your name's Packaging Materials. Like, valid point, but yeah, so we go by PMITape, even though our company name is Packaging Materials. And the main niche that we have is in the screen print industry, doing different tapes for masking out the screens, covering up the screens themselves, as well as the double-sided or dual-tack pallet tape for sticking shirts to the pallets. So that's our main niche that we're in, and the bulk of our business is screen printing. Yeah.
So I mean, obviously, do you come from any screen print background at all? Do you have either you came from that background and you saw a problem, or a screen printer came to you and said, hey, I have a problem, can you fix this? Like, how did you guys land on screen tape for screen printers?
Yeah. So back in, I want to say 1993, one of the largest screen printers in the US came to my dad and said, hey, the tape that we're using, it's called split liner tape, and it's super expensive. And what it was just a regular full tape, and then it had a liner on the back side of it, and that liner was split down the middle so that you would peel off one half of the liner, put the sticky side on the mesh, and then the side that still has the liner goes up against the frame. And that was called split liner tape. And that was kind of the common thing that people used in the industry back in 93. But it was crazy expensive, $20 a roll. And cumbersome because you have that liner that you have to peel off. So one of his customers said, hey, if you could make a tape that's just not sticky on this top half, and also resisted these inks and these temperatures and cleaning chemicals, then we would use it in our shop. So he went back and forth for a couple of years on different iterations, and all right, here, try this one. And after about 2 years of going back and forth, landed on the split tape design. And that's why it's called split tape. It's split liner tape, but without the liner. So that's
cool.
how the name split tape came about. And this customer loved it so much, they would go to trade shows with him for free just to kind of help and like tell people about how great this tape is. And
Wow.
everyone knew who this customer was because they were one of the largest shops in the U.S.
Are they still around?
Everyone was like, they are. Oh, yeah.
Oh, cool.
And, you know, they would be at the shows with my dad, and they're like, what are you doing in this tape booth? So it gave him a huge jump start on the business there by having his endorsement and just him just being nice, being there at the shows, helping.
That's awesome.
So then a couple of years after that, started selling to distributors and just found the niche in split tape.
Cool. So
Yeah.
we sell, I believe, your entire product line. So we have the quick rip, we have the full adhesive, we have your PMI registration tape, your dual tack, and your high dual tack. That's for fleece.
Yep.
Split tape, I would say, is probably a lion's share of what we sell. It's our most popular SKU. We still sell a lot of the other stuff, but is split tape like probably the largest, most, I'd say, volume-wise, your best product? Yeah,
it definitely is. And that's just by the nature of how it works.
Yeah.
You know, the quick rip tape, for example, is for blocking out pinholes and registration marks or images that you don't want to print. So a lot of times people will have the quick rip tape, which is the clear one with the blue non-adhesive edge. They'll have that one sitting by the press. So while the screens are on press, if they see a pinhole, they can break off a little piece, cover that up, and keep printing. So people don't burn through a whole lot of quick rip tape compared to split tape, just because they're using split tape around all the screens. And same thing with the full adhesive tape. The full adhesive tape is the solid white one. Same thing as a split tape, just sticky everywhere. And people use that one to tape further into an image if they've got a really long run and they're worried about pinholes forming and just kind of need that insurance. So not a whole lot of full adhesive tape is used compared to the split tape. So that's
I guess it depends on the
bigger
printer.
volume one. Yeah, exactly.
We have some customers that don't know how to properly coat a screen. They're putting so little emulsion that they're getting pinholes. So they literally tape off the entire screen except for the image, which is hilarious. So you guys must love those guys. I know I do.
We love those guys. They're great. Yeah.
I try and educate them, saying, "Hey, why are you doing this?" And they're like, "We've done this for 30 years." The usual. I've been around longer than you've been born screen printing. I'm like, well, if you just do a thicker coat of emulsion, you're not going to have to do it. They're like, "Nah, we're good. Thanks." I'm like, all right, cool. Keep buying tape.
One other funny thing that people do.
Yeah. Totally.
One other funny thing that people do, they'll tape off both the top side of the mesh and the bottom side of the mesh, thinking that 2 layers of tape is better, where the ink isn't going to go through 1 layer of tape. So the other side is not necessary. And you can tape either the top side or the bottom side, either one. But a lot of times we'll see people use 2 layers of tape. And surprisingly, the tape starts to fall off. And they're like, well, I've already got it taped all the way up. How's this failing? And what happens is moisture gets trapped in between both layers of the tape, and it doesn't have anywhere to go. So it starts to loosen up that tape. So that's another funny thing that people do, burning up a lot of tape, taping up both sides when it's actually hurting it and causing the tape to lift up.
That's funny.
That's interesting.
And then from there, I guess were your 3 first tape products, and then eventually you brought in the dual tack stuff. And if you want to just cover a little bit about that and some of the advantages you see of shops going that route.
For sure. Yeah. So the dual tack palette tape is a newer one. It came out in around 2020 or so. And it's basically a palette tape, but it has adhesive on both sides. And that allows you to just put that down straight on your pallets, completely eliminates the need for spray adhesives or water-based adhesives that you spread. And really, the main advantage that a lot of the shops see is the consistency, where you get into some bigger shops and they'll have one shift that puts down way too much adhesive, and then the next guy doesn't put down enough. Or this guy doesn't let the adhesive dry, and they run into that variable that they have to teach. And it changes based on who's putting that adhesive down. And we didn't really think about it from this angle, but a lot of the bigger shops really like it because it's the same consistency every time. And it comes pre-applied, so you don't have to worry about someone putting down too much or too little glue. and then it transferring to the inside of the shirts. So that's a major benefit. Another cool thing about it, once lint builds up, you can take water and a sponge and just wipe the lint off and then go right back to printing. And depending on the garment type, we usually hear a few thousand impressions before you have to pull the tape off and replace it. With something like a blend or polyester, you can get even more. But it just depends on how much lint the garment leaves.
Yeah.
And
Sean,
like
you
for
use that
us,
tape, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like for us, we've never used aerosol spray in our shop. I never wanted it. I didn't want to have sticky floors, things like that. So we've always used water-based glue. And I think it was in 2020 we went to the Vegas show. And if I'm not mistaken, it was your dad. He was like, "Oh, here's a sample of the dual tack. It's a new thing." I was like, "We do a lot of fleece. We're up north in Canada, and it's always cold, so we print a lot of fleece." He's like, "Yeah, try the high tack." So came in back at the shop like 2 days later. We had a fleece order. Put that on the pallets, and we never looked back since then. It's like
That's awesome.
so like a quick trick that we use is we actually bought a drill that we can polish cars with, you know, like the thing at the top. So we put that on the drill, and then we just put water on the pallets, and as soon as they're hot, that's when we clean the lints off our pallets. So for hoodies, fleece with the high tack, we do 3 revolutions, then we clean the pallets off with that drill, so it takes a few seconds.
Yeah.
And then write a new fleece on top every single time. So it's a lot quicker than actually applying glue, and it's a lot less messy. Like, especially when you put on water-based glue, oftentimes your guy's not as skilled as you are. Maybe the operator's not as skilled, so he's going to leave a bit more glue, and it's going to stick on inside of the shirt. So having that is always like super nice because the fleece are always clean on the inside, and they're sticky. Right, so that was massive for us. I like that product.
That's
awesome. And I'm actually
cleaning it with a drill. That's a good idea.
Yeah, the drill with like the how do you call those? The polishing sponge,
like a buffer,
or
like a
just
buffing head or something.
Yeah, buffing disc. Yeah,
a buffing disc, but it's like it's the
Yeah.
soft sponge they sell.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's what we use. It's super nice.
That's awesome.
And yeah, it works. It takes 3 seconds. It's done. So we
takes the elbow grease out of it.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by the product itself. Like, how does it work? Because we have a rocks or pallets or like there's no foam on top. How do you call that, Zach? What's on the M&R pallets?
The pallet tops, the pallet rubber.
Yeah, the pallet
It's like
rubber.
a
Does it
dense
stick
rubber.
well?
Yeah.
Does it stick well on the pallet rubber as well?
It
Yeah, of
does,
course.
and it sticks. But really, it was designed to stick to that pallet rubber.
Makes
but
sense.
it'll stick straight to wood pallets or aluminum if you don't have that pallet rubber on top. One thing that
You
is
don't have
interesting
pallet rubber,
sometimes.
Sean?
Nope.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah,
Huh.
no.
You
we
just
don't have any pallet
straight
rubber.
to the aluminum.
Straight to the aluminum. Yeah, we like it.
Huh.
It works nice. But yeah, and the other thing, when you apply these on your pallets, they're super.
Yeah.
Like, it's easy to remove the paper backing, right? To leave that. So is your inside glue a lot more aggressive than the outside glue? Why is it so easy to remove the paper on top?
So the paper has a silicone release coating on it.
Oh, that's
so
why.
it is. Yeah, exactly. So it really doesn't want to stick to much.
So it's not
the adhesive. Yeah, it's actually more aggressive on the outside of the tape than on the underside that goes onto pallets because it needs to peel clean off the pallets.
Yep.
It's actually twice as sticky on that top side, but that release liner has a silicone coating on it.
And I was, because when I saw your dad at the show in 2020, I was like, it's going to take us like an hour just to tape up our pallets, because in my mind I had that dual tack tape from 3M where you know how you try and peel off that top coat and it's so freaking hard.
Exactly.
And then your dad was like, no, there's a special coating on it to where it's simple. I was like, anyways, he gave it for free. I was like, all right, we'll try it.
Yeah.
And it took us.
Awesome.
It was quicker to do that than to actually put we use standard pallet tape on top of our pallets before, and it was quicker to do the dual tack pallet tape on our pallets then.
Wow. Then apply that.
Yeah, because you have to cut everything off the excess with the pallet tape, where this one fits perfectly on the pallet. Just cut the
right
top
down the middle.
Yep. So it's a lot quicker.
And that's one thing that's a little different with the dual tack. The width is unique compared to a paper pallet tape.
Yep.
And that's because with the dual tack pallet tape, a lot of people use a 15-inch wide roll to roll it down the middle of a 16-inch wide pallet.
Yep.
And we do that because, like you were saying, you have to trim off those edges. So if you use a tape that's a little bit more narrow than the width of the pallet, you can roll it down the middle.
That's what we do.
And then we make 18-inch for wider pallets and do custom widths too if someone needs it.
Yeah, cool. The biggest challenge that I have when I try and give that to people, again, screen printers, creatures of habit for the majority, right? Guys have been doing it for 20 years. Like, oh no, this is crazy. You want me to scrub it down every 2 or 3 rotations? The dry web's so much faster. But I'm like, you're reapplying the dry web every time it's going around. You're still grabbing something, and spraying it. And I think I came to you, Andrew, when I first started selling this. I'm like, man, nobody wants to buy this product. Like, I'm struggling with it. And then you sent me that the ROI calculator for the dual tack. And that really helped. I don't know if you want to chat a little bit about that, because I think that's a really cool tool where people actually look at the numbers and like, hey, you know what? This product does make sense.
You know what? I will go ahead and share my screen.
Awesome.
I've got that same thing that I sent to you.
I'm sure the price has gone up on there. It's been 6 or 7 years. I think you guys might have had a price increase or two. Maybe. I don't know.
Actually, we had one price increase in 2021. It was a 6% increase, and that was our first increase in 15 years. And since then, haven't had any and don't anticipate any either. But okay, so you guys can see the ROI, the pallet tape time study that I have. Okay, so first column is the dual tack pallet tape, and kind of going down the list. A lot of times, you're right, Zach. People focus on how quick is it to apply the spray adhesive versus the dual tack pallet tape, and there's so many other costs involved, and they kind of get so laser focused on one thing. It's like, well, we can't spend that time doing this. But let's kind of breeze through it real quick. So you've got your material cost.
Sean, is his going to be on fully pulled up on the screen so people could see it too?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. Awesome. So with the material cost of the pallet tape, it's a little bit over double a paper pallet tape. Now you've got the labor cost to apply it. That's about the same. Then you've got the cost of adhesive, and then the labor cost of applying that adhesive. So for example, look at the labor cost of the spray adhesive. You've got 8 seconds, 3 cents. It's not a whole lot that we're really looking at compared to 21 seconds for a water-based adhesive. And this is a time study that a customer put together for us. And it's not that hard to do your own time study. It really doesn't take long, and a lot of people I feel like are afraid to go back with a stopwatch and time one of their employees. But I feel like a lot of times when people do that, it's really eye-opening. And if you tell your employee, hey, I'm just checking to see maybe we want to use a more premium product that'll save you time, and just kind of crunching the numbers, not like I'm standing over your shoulder because you should be doing twice as much. So that, at least when I do a time study, I kind of word it in a nice way. And kind of give them a heads up of why I'm standing there timing what they're doing. So you've got kind of going through the list, the material cost of that adhesive that you're reapplying. The spray tack, looking at that, 72 cents every time you reapply that per 200 garments. So then, you've got down at the bottom, really, the price per pallet. Dual tack came out a little bit cheaper, and then the total time spent per pallet is a little bit less than even the spray adhesive. And I say, this is one-time study that a customer put together, and I'd encourage people to try their own, and not just on the paper pallet tape compared to the dual tack pallet tape, but on all sorts of things. When you're looking at a different supply that might cost way more than what you're buying now. A lot of times people have that sticker shock, and it's like, oh, well, never mind. I couldn't spend that much. Just take a quick look at the numbers, because you never know what you can find.
Yeah. Just touching on this for the dual tack. I mean, yes, based on that study, it ends up being cheaper. And that's an easy way to convince screen print shops, because we know, a lot of screen print owners are literally, trying to split pennies. But I think it's the health aspects of not having the aerosols going into the air and gunking up the machines. And I think I've said before on a podcast, I was walking around a shop once, and I was wearing these lightweight Cole Haan knitted shoes, and I was walking across the shop, and my shoe literally came off, like full on, got stuck on the floor. I'm like, oh god, and that stuff's going into your lungs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you're someone who's spraying those aerosols, breathing them in, like you see the presses, man, like they get gunked up. So if you're breathing that in, day out, I mean, it's not that great for you, right? There's definitely better options. So making your shop cleaner, obviously the health advantages, those are huge. And it's just a change of habit. And a lot of shops that I deal with, they're like, Zach, my guys, they will not use this. I'm like, okay, 2 questions. Well, a question and a statement. First, who owns this shop? And they're like, yeah, I do. I'm like, okay. So you want to keep your employees healthy? Yeah. You want to keep your machines clean? Yep. You want to keep your environment clean, the floors? Yep. Okay. So here's what you do. Stop buying the aerosols and only give them the dual tack. And when they run out of the aerosol, that's all they have left. Their job's to print shirts. They're going to have to figure it out. And guess what? After complaining for 2 or 3 days, they're going to be like, hey, it's not so bad. And they'll completely forget about it, right? You know, if you stop buying the aerosol, they're not going to, you know, run out on their lunch and buy it with their own money and come and spray it, you know. They're going to make it work with what you have. So that's one thing that I've seen.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, and to your point, you mentioned, you know, doing time tests. The actual split rip tape, I did a time test yesterday. So I was at a shop, been printing for a long time, couple autos, and we're going to the reclaim. They don't have a dip tank. They're using, you know, what is it? Not the varnish. What's that thing where they use to clean the squeegees and flood bars? That super toxic.
The what?
You know what I'm talking about? Where they have them in those red bins and it's just recirculating instead of textile
like
press wash. What's
like
that
a
thing called again?
Like a mechanic.
Yeah. Anyway,
mechanic
they had one of
recycling.
those things, which is the first thing to get rid of. And I see the guy, you know, peeling off tape. I'm like, you don't use split tape? And they're like, no, it's too expensive. I'm like, okay, have you ever timed like how long it takes your guy? Because you know the rolls of tape, like I don't know, I don't know exactly what they are. I think they're like 10.50 Canadian or something. So whatever, maybe $7 US, where they can get a regular packing tape for let's say $2.50. So it's 3 times the cost. I'm like, I'm not paying 3 times the cost for tape. Are you
What's
nuts?
the width
And I'm
on
like,
the
okay,
packing tape?
yeah. So I'm like, let's time how long it takes your guy, and we timed him doing a couple screens, and it works out to whatever 8 minutes a screen, because sometimes they're putting so much tape. Like they were one of those customers that puts tape along the back end too, right?
Yeah.
And their reason why they do that, one is pinholes, but two, they like to burn 2 images on one screen, like 2 different jobs. We'll talk about that in a second, Sean, because I still see a lot of old school shops doing that. I don't know if it's efficient at all, but anyway, so we timed him, and when you run the numbers by the end of it, it costs 4 times as much when you factor in his labor than just using the PMITape that you peel off in one shot. So it's one thing that the easiest way I've been successful is when I'm walking around with the owner of the shop and we go to the reclaim, and I'm like, all right, watch this. And then they're sold. I give them a free roll. They try it. They're like, boom, customer for life. But yeah, Sean, and maybe Andrew, you have some, take on this. I'm still seeing a lot of shops are doing 2 images on one screen. I mean, obviously, if they have the eye image or the laser, it's a lot quicker. But if they don't, if they're still doing film based, do you see a big advantage to doing that?
It depends. Like for us, we still do on certain jobs, depending if it's a quick, for example, a black print, right? Left chest and back. Am I going to do one screen for the front, one screen for the back, and then having to take that ink and flip in a new screen? It's quicker for me since it's a one print, one location. Registration is going to be easy. We expose with the laser machine, go rinse it out, then we go on press, and then we do left chest. We flip the screen around, do the back right away. If it's a multicolor job, we're never doing that, right? We want a registration to be dialed in, so our LTS machines have a 3-lock system, so we're using that. But if it's a one-color job on a black ink, or like there's no underbase, it's easy job, of course, we're going to run that all day. It makes it easier for press operators to just go and keeps the press running. But again, if I didn't have the Stampinator, I might not actually do that. The reason why I'm saying this is because when we know we have a left chest and a back print with the same color on press, the guy is just stacking the shirt on the cart, and then he's flipping them over and doing the back right away. So they're not actually going through the oven. They're going through the oven at the end, right? Because if my shirt is going through the oven, it's going to go through QC before. And then if the QC is good, it's going to bring it back to print the back print. So that's just how we run our shop here. So maybe we're going to print, I don't know, we have 5 jobs staged for all front prints. And then the next day we're going to do all the back prints for those 5 jobs. It's not because we're printing that front logo that we're going to print the back logo of that shirt right away. It really depends on the artwork. It depends on the job. So, yeah.
Huh.
Interesting.
Yeah, we hear a lot of people doing that with multiple images on one screen. It shows a lot of people will say, oh, yeah, we burned 2 on one screen. But yeah, I haven't really looked at it or thought much like, is that the most efficient way? But we hear a surprisingly large amount of people tell us that they do that.
If you're a small shop and there's not a lot of people like in your team to help you do that, I think it is maybe more efficient for you to do that because you're the one who's burning the screens, making your films, flipping. But as soon as you get more than 6 to 7 people on your team for a screen printing department, I think you're better off just burning screens per image, and then you just run that.
That's true.
Take it in.
Otherwise, then you have that communication error of, well, I didn't know that was on the screen too.
And are you going to write, like at a certain point when there's volume, like you write on your screens, the job name, the color, the Pantone, this is screen 1, screen 2, screen 3. Am I going to write on each side? So this is the left, like we don't do that. It's just simpler for us to just run it all in one and keeps things simple and organized, and everybody can go and help each other out. So that's how we do it. Is it the best way? Maybe not, but it's been working for us for sure.
Yeah. One thing I want to touch on, Andrew, I feel like you guys, I don't know if it's if it happened by accident. Actually, a couple things. You guys come up with some pretty creative like marketing, tactics and solutions.
Talk about it.
You can't miss you guys at the show. You guys have like a massive roll of tape, so it's gonna catch everyone's eye. Like their booth is literally like a huge just roll of tape. Who came up with that idea? That was pretty cool.
Yep.
Yeah. So
we worked with a local exhibit company that helped us put that together, and they did a great job with that because it really looks like a roll of split tape.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's pretty fun.
And I'd love, we have a couple trade shows. We have the one in January. I don't know if I asked you to come to the last one, but it'd be cool if you can come out and bring your setup and something that's kind of, I could say, gone like viral in the screen print industry is the whole like split tape challenge. And you guys have, you guys have the timer there now, and everyone's trying to compete. That was a really, really cool idea. Number one, who's the reigning champ, and what's the fastest speed on that? And also, who came up with the idea? Was it just like a shop, like one shop that like started it and started, other shops were mimicking, or did you guys come up with the idea and how did that come about? Because that's something that I see still once in a while, like PMI split tape challenge.
People, a lot of people tell us like, oh, you should do like a competition. And 1 year before Long Beach, we're like, all right, let's do it. We got a timer and got a banner that we can write on that shows who has the current fastest time, and winner gets $1,000 in tape. And the official record holder is Kyle from Shirt Kong.
Really?
He's got 9.11 seconds.
Jeez.
Fast.
So he's the official record holder, but the unofficial record holder is a guy Martin in Australia at PSI. I think he's got it down to like 6 seconds and change. And
so he's just never made it to the trade show.
Exactly. Yeah. So he's not the official record holder because he had to be at the show. But we're going to do it again in Long Beach in January. This last one, we didn't do it because we didn't want to do it every year, and then it becomes like, oh, you go to PMI and see how fast you can tape up a screen. So we didn't want it to get old and didn't want to do it back to back. So what we actually came up with this past Long Beach show in January, we put together a nonprofit called Case for Kids. And how it works is with every case of PMITape that we ship from it was February 1st to April 30th, there's a label on it with a QR code, and you can scan that QR code, and then you can select where we make a donation on your behalf. And there's no payment collected, no personal information collected, but right now there's 3 choices, and it's fun to watch these roll in. So the first choice, there's 15 meals to a hungry kid in Kenya. There's a toy for a child in a children's hospital, and then a new outfit for a child in need. And for every scan, we'll donate, a new outfit for a child or a toy for a child in the children's hospital. And it's been really cool. We're up to a few thousand in each category, and
Wow.
just did a big donation for the Meals to Kenya one, so we'll have an update here on that soon. But that's been a fun thing that we've put together in lieu of that taping challenge this past year. But next year, I mean, we're going to continue this Case for Kids thing because I
It's
love
great.
it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, it's a really, really good initiative. Now, I mean, we've been sending them out with the cases. I don't. Do you have any way to track like what have any Canadians done it, or are the Canadians just chucking the boxes
We're
and not
not.
actually
I
scanning?
mean, it takes their IP address, but we don't do anything with that. But we don't
Yeah.
really have location tracking or anything. We kind of set it to where it's not tracking a whole lot because we
Yeah.
don't
Sure.
want to infringe on privacy. We don't want to collect emails or names.
Yeah.
So it's just scan it, make the selection, and that's it.
And as long as those boxes are in circulation, let's say customers are buying them in
Yeah.
May or June, they still work, right?
Totally. Yep. They'll still work. And the fun thing is we're going to change up those categories too. So right now, those are the three that we started with. But then when it gets closer to Christmas, we'll
Yeah,
do
toy
more like
drive.
Christmas-based categories,
Yeah,
toy
yeah.
drives.
That's
Exactly.
awesome.
I love it.
And
Yeah.
it'll be fun. We'll start getting different screen printers ideas, and we'll change up those categories, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
And
very cool.
yeah, props to you guys. To be honest, you've always you guys have always been an inspiration for us, like in our marketing strategies, right? Like when your dad gave me that role and he was like, "Yeah, free samples." Like, free sample, okay. And then he gave me a bunch of split tape and everything. I was like, "I use the split tape." He said, "No, take it." I always found
Yeah.
that super intriguing and inspiring for us. So like last year we launched our dollar T-shirt where you could go on our website and custom T-shirts, and that was based off of like what you guys did with the show. So
That's cool.
good product, and if you're confident in your product, the people are going to come back, right? So I think like you guys are doing a great job, and people should be inspired by what you guys, especially with your marketing, and it goes a
Thank
long
you.
way to see like what you guys are doing for the kids and everything like that. That's awesome.
Yeah. And Andrew, you see that works, that strategy. Like I every time I do an event or a class, I'm like, hey, Andrew, need a pallet of samples. He's like, no problem, they're on the way.
Yep.
I mean, has that been a successful strategy for you guys to help people convert? It's like you got that barrier to entry, and I'm sure it's hard to get analytics. It's not like
Yeah.
you're tracking things on Google, but it'd be awesome if you're like, hey, you know what, like 30% of our customers convert. And it doesn't take much to make your money back on that. But has that been a successful way for you guys to penetrate the market?
It definitely has. You're right, though. We don't have any analytics on it. We only have our total growth
Yeah.
with our business. And it's hard to say for sure that it's the samples, but I feel like a lot of it is. And that's because, like Sean, you were saying, a lot of people hear about it because they got a sample. And our products are more expensive than a packing tape or more expensive than a standard paper pallet tape. And if you just see it or hear about it, you might not be willing to really try it and see why it's worth paying a little bit more. Where if you're given the sample and here it is, try it out, odds are you're going to take it back and put it to the test. And you may have an opinion going in of, oh, well, this is way too expensive. I could never spend $10.50 on a roll of tape. But then as you try it and burn through that roll, it's like, holy cow, well, we're saving all this time over here. The guy that used to be picking at tape is now helping to clean this. And it really helps to visualize that savings. So yeah, no, we'll always be happy to give out samples to anyone that wants to give it a try. And people can get them on our website. We've got a page on there for samples. And the only thing we ask on our website is people cover $10 for the shipping. And
That's fair.
and most of the time that doesn't even cover it, but at least it prevents people from hoarding a bunch of sample boxes. And but for that $10 thing, we'd ship a surprising number of samples to apartments and houses, and you can tell it's the same person because 8 went to this location in 20 minutes. And so with the $10 thing, it kind of separates the people that really want to try it, and $10 is not much compared to how much tape you're getting in that box
At all.
So
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
One thing that I just thought of, I mean, we talk about the cost of tape, and you guys are, the gold standard industry leader in that space. You do start seeing some of these Chinese tapes creeping in, kind of the
Yeah.
knockoffs, and we see that in everything. It's like,
Hmm.
a certain of the ink manufacturers that we sell, the OEM, you have these knockoff manufacturers that come in, but the ink, the consistency is not the same. They lose heads and all that kind of stuff. Do you see that kind of impacting your business much? And I'm sure it's similar where they have consistency issues. Because I would think, I mean, I'm no tape engineer, but I would think that it's pretty technical to make this stuff, right?
And that's the funny thing about it. We do see a lot of knockoff split tapes come on the market, and I guess I shouldn't say a
Yeah.
lot. It's pretty rare, but there are some like Korean versions that have come up, and they always kind of go away. And I don't know if it's a combination of supply chain issues where they're importing it from Korea, and they've got a 2 month lead time. They get a big spike in demand, and now they can't fill orders for 2 months, and then people get turned off of it because it's not consistent, or if it's a performance issue. And I think a lot of it's a performance thing. A lot of times, the knockoff tapes that we see out there, people will take a white box tape and print a non adhesive area on it, not realizing that there's so much more to the tape than just being not sticky in that part. We actually formulate our adhesive ourselves. So we have a 110-gallon mixer. We'll mix a few batches every day, and we custom make this adhesive just for screen printing. So it has just the right adhesion. It resists the inks. It's made for this purpose, where there's really no other tape that's out there that from the ground up was made just for screen printing. So if a lot of times people will find a knockoff tape from China, let's say, and it works pretty well in the first round, that manufacturer in China might be making that tape really for sealing boxes. And they have a really
Yeah.
wide tolerance on that adhesion range. And this first batch happened to be pretty low, so it worked well for screen printing. But the second batch was a higher adhesion, and to them, that's normal because it's for sealing boxes. But then a screen printer, a little variation in the adhesion level makes all the difference. And a lot of times they don't realize that. They seem to kind of fizzle out. But I mean, I think we're providing a service and helping people, and we're at the shows, and
Totally.
I think it's kind of twofold there, you know.
We're dealing with that with DTF film. I mean, we've tested. I
Yeah,
don't even know how many. It's probably like 80 films at least. But we've switched 4 or 5 times, and it's for that exact reason. We order samples, they're good. We order a 20-foot container. Okay, great. Here's our 40-foot container that costs us, I don't know, 200 grand, and then boom, problems, and now we're stuck.
oh
I mean,
wow.
China's or Korea, sometimes they'll say, okay, I'll give you a discount on the next order for the next 9 orders, and you'll slowly make your money back. But then I got this, massive container of film that's trash. And the same thing would apply to tape. It's like, as a distributor, I know that if I'm buying from you, first of all, never had one issue, hands down. So in the 6 years, I've never had a bad roll, which is great. But if I did, I know you got my back. Whereas when I'm ordering from
Absolutely.
Asia, it's like, all right, well, you have $50,000 of crappy tape. That's not going to work. So,
Yeah.
yeah, there's that risk there. Speaking of split
Yeah.
tape, Sean, we did a custom RB Digital PMI tape. I think we just launched that maybe like a month and a half ago. So it's got our co-branding on there. So that was a fun
That's
little
cool.
project that we did.
Yeah,
I
it
think
is cool.
I saw it on Made Labs, I think, first. I'm like, oh, I hope that's PMI tape. And I called Andrew. I'm like, Andrew, can we private label it too? He's like, yeah, of course. You just got to buy X amount, and we did it, and that's fun. So we like to brand whatever we can. It's all part of the marketing stuff, right? So,
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
so yeah, that was cool.
What and like when you say like you talk about the quality of product and everything, but I think it goes back to the niche, right? Like you guys are really focused on just making the best tape possible for screen printers, and I think that says a lot when you're looking at a company and you see the products that they make, and you guys could offer a wide variety of other products for consumables, for things like that. But I guess you guys are focusing on what you're really good at for a reason, and maybe you want to dive
Yeah.
deeper into that. And like, is all of your tape manufactured by you guys? Like, how does that work?
Yeah.
And to his
everything we
point,
sell. Uh-huh.
yeah, I was gonna say, and to his point, being in your position, I'm sure you guys get tempted all the time, where customers are like, hey, can you get this product? And in your head, you're like, oh yeah, I could definitely do it. I'd sell a ton of it, but it's like not what I do. I'm sure there's always that temptation, you know what I mean? Where it's like, should we do it?
Yeah.
And then you guys internally, your dad's like, no, we've been making tape for 25 years and we're not going to change, you know? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You know, one thing that helps with the temptation to make one-off little things if someone has a request, for us to make a product, we have to coat one large roll on our coating line. We call it a jumbo roll. That's the industry norm for a big roll that comes off of a coating line. And that roll is 5 feet wide by 15,000 feet long, so almost 3 miles.
Wow.
And that's what we have to run to stay efficient on the coating line. We can't do 200 feet of a material because it takes 1,000 feet of coating just to purge from one adhesive to the next. So I mean, the smallest thing that we could run is one jumbo roll, and even then, our minimum for any type of film is basically a truckload of that film. So to put together a small amount of a one-off product is challenging. So whenever we do put together something, it has to be something that the whole industry can use, and if not, we need to make sure that the volume's there to cover that. So that helps us resist the temptation to do a bunch of little one-off things just because for us to make it, we have to stay efficient. And like the adhesive is mixed 110 gallons at a time. But we like to stay pretty laser focused on our niches that we have. With like screen printing, we've got 3 screen tapes and 2 versions of the dual tack palette tape. And then there's 2 tape dispensers, but that's it. We really focus on just those products, mainly 4, because that's what we give out in that sample box. 200 different types of tapes for screen printers. Zach, that's going to be really hard for you to stock all this.
Oh, forget it. Forget it. I mean, keep in mind, you have split tape, but then you have the 2-inch, the 3-inch, the 4-inch or whatever it is. So there's some other SKUs in there too. And even that's annoying to do. Luckily, there's no expiries on this stuff, right? So I don't have to worry about that. But yeah, the more SKUs, it just becomes a pain, right?
Totally. So that's why we keep it pretty focused on a few different SKUs. And I mean, we do have variations. If someone runs into an issue and they're like, hey, the split tape is too sticky or not sticky enough, we've got some custom variations, but we kind of reserve those until we hear of a problem. And then we recommend, all right, well, we've got this in our pocket that we want you to try out. But on our website, like we could put, a high tack, a regular, a low tack, all these different split tape options. But then everyone tends to gravitate towards, well, I want the high tack. Because they want it to be the stickiest, where in most cases a high-tack version would leave residue and be just too aggressive. But there's some cases where there's high humidity or like wood frames where you really need a lot more tack, or on a metal frame that would leave residue. And in some cases, the regular split tape is too sticky for people. And it's a combination of temperature, humidity, cleaning chemicals, their inks, their frame types. There's so many factors that go into it. And if people do find that it's a little bit too sticky, we've got a solution for that too. And then in that case, like Zach, we'll drop ship for you guys if someone needs one case of a specialty. I was about to say,
any Canadians listening to this, don't ask me for it. Send me the order. I'm not stocking it, guys. Sorry, I got enough tape already.
That's what we do.
It becomes a
we'll
nightmare
drop ship
for us
in those cases.
Okay, great.
Exactly.
It must be rare because I've never had any problem with them for the last 8 years. I mean, since I started doing screen printing, that's what we always use. And I get it. Maybe in certain areas, maybe where the climate's really cold, like, I don't know, humid or whatnot. But like for us, it's been great. And I mean, when you were talking, you were saying, so we don't do anything under a truckload and things. That got me thinking in my mind, 110 gallons of new glue mixed. Like how many rolls of tape are you producing in your facility on a daily basis? Like that's
I posted a video on Instagram. I reposted it. I thought it was really cool. It was like you had like the jumbo roll with like a splitter, and then it looks like there was like a shaking machine that kind of shakes all the rolls that they go like in the right direction or something. But it looks like you guys got a lot of equipment going there to pull it off.
Yeah, we our coating line will make about 8 of those jumbo rolls in a day. So that's 5 feet wide by 3 miles
3
long.
miles.
How many rolls is that?
And I haven't honestly done the math.
Come on. I mean, we could do the math, but you should have that on the top. You have
That's
all the
insane.
same length.
Well, but I mean, the bulk of our business is screen printing for sure,
Yeah.
but we do
Yeah,
some
yeah.
other stuff too.
Hmm.
So it's
Hmm.
hard to say that all of that can translate into a number of roles for
That's
screen printing.
insane.
Yeah, but that's what we manufacture. But like I say, there's a few other niches that we're in, but our main one's screen printing.
How many rolls do you guys produce a day?
He doesn't
Well,
know
I mean
exactly.
the jumbo
Rough.
rolls would be 8 of those per day
8 of those.
at
Got it.
15,000 feet long by 5 feet
Hmm.
wide.
Okay.
That's
So you guys are
insane.
going through it every single day. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I saw another Instagram video. You guys are talking about like you guys are trying to introduce more automation. I'm assuming it's because obviously it's always a struggle to find labor in Canada. I'm sure it's the same thing in the U.S. I mean, what type of
Yeah.
investments are you making into automation? We see a big push here. Customers investing in auto reclaim units, direct to screen units, auto coders, like whatever they can do to try and pull out human error and just replace human beings because you just can't find people, to work anymore. It's very difficult.
Yeah. We fortunately we've got a really good group of people here, and we work really hard to maintain a good atmosphere, and it's low drama. Everyone gets along. We keep our place very clean. You can eat off the floors, and I feel like that helps with the atmosphere too. But
Totally.
what we did to really help increase our capacity was automate the packing process. So, like Zach, you were saying on that machine where the guy's dropping the roll onto a conveyor belt, all of our finished rolls get thrown onto a conveyor belt, and each machine has a separate lane on that belt that feeds to a central packing area. And we have 4 robotic arms that take the rolls off that belt, puts them onto a L-bar sealer that forms them into 6-packs. They go through a heat tunnel. Another arm takes those 6-packs and separates them by lane. And then when it has enough 6-packs in a lane to fill a carton, it triggers another arm to grab a carton for that lane. It opens up the carton. It'll fill the cartons with the other robot. It'll send it through a carton sealer, and then the last largest robot will put them on different pallets. So
That's
it'll
so
keep it
cool.
all separate throughout the process. But it's allowed us to speed things up by about 30%. And
Wow.
the timing of this was just perfect. We did all this during COVID when things were slower. It was kind of my
Yeah.
COVID project. It's something I've always wanted to do, but never really had the time.
Yeah.
So this is a perfect time to set all this up. And,
Totally.
and it
Was
timed
that was
out
that
great. Yeah.
was that a
Well,
custom
yeah,
solution, or was that like something that some other tape companies are using, or like what does that process look like? Did you go to a general robotics company and say, hey, these are the problems I want to solve, and then they kind of like create a
Yeah.
custom robot for you?
we bought Universal Robots, that brand of arms, and they're kind of like
Yeah.
the Apple of robotic arms. They're
Hmm.
a little bit more expensive, but they last a really long time. They're very user friendly. You can set them so if they hit somebody or something, when it sees 5 pounds of force, it'll stop. So they're really safe to work around. You don't have to worry about it pushing someone through a wall. Like in automotive factories, there's all the safety
Yep.
guards and everything around the arms because they're dangerous. Where these don't have to be guarded because they're safe. But no, we just bought the arms, and I designed the whole system and set it all up. And
Wow.
it was a lot of fun to put together, and it speeds up our production by about 30%, which was great because during COVID we're a little bit slower, so we put these arms in place and figured it'd be cool to do it, fun, and also nice to speed up our production by about 30%.
Yeah.
How many
And
humans did you
after
replace?
COVID, zero. So
Oh, really?
we just increased our capacity,
Just more
and
efficient.
Okay.
yeah, we didn't get rid of anybody,
I
and
don't
we
mean that.
basically yeah.
Yeah, I mean
Oh
like
yeah,
yeah, how many like the robots and even like the level of investment,
yeah.
like how big of an investment is that? What's the payoff? I mean, these are questions that I
Mm-hmm.
always deal with my customers with the CTS images and the Unicodes. I mean, if you
Yeah.
look at the level of investment, how many years does it take to pay that off, and how many human
Yeah.
beings would you need to do that same job?
In general, if anything pays for itself in 3 years, we do it. That's kind of
Yeah.
our baseline.
Hmm.
And this, it was probably $250,000 for the setup. And even if in this case, if it doesn't pay for itself in 3 years, the long-term benefits are huge from increasing our capacity. But the main thing is it took a task that people didn't like doing off their hands. Because people didn't like running their machine, but also having to pack the rolls. Our rolls used to have a sleeve around a stack of them, and then separator rings between each rolls.
Yep.
And that was done by hand. The guys would, have a table next to their machine. They would set a roll down, put a ring on, roll down, ring on. And then they would take the sleeve, put it over it, tape up the box, put it in the box, close the box, put it on a pallet. And the guys that run these machines really like running the machines. They can listen to podcasts while they're running it, and they kind of get into a groove. And that packing process takes them out of that groove. So it's something that people didn't like doing anyway, and it sped things up by about 30%, which worked out great because right after COVID, when labor was hard to find, we saw a pretty good bump in business because for all these years we've been fighting our competition of packing tape, and people are like, well, it's so cheap, and they're not realizing how much labor goes into it. Well, now when they're short on help, a lot of the times the owner's back there peeling tape off the screens. And he's like, you mean for $10
like,
I can eliminate this whole problem? Exactly, yeah. So right after COVID, a light bulb went on for a lot of people, and a switch just flipped, and people realized time is actually worth something when that time is hard to get. And a lot of people drifted over to split tape because they've seen it at shows and they've tried it, but they couldn't justify the price. But now they can because they understand how much their time is worth. So we saw about a 30% increase in business, but we had the robots to be ready for that. So it worked out just right.
Do you guys remember Discovery Show, the How It's Made?
Yeah.
I would love to have a How It's Made show at the PMITape factory just to see how, that's insane what you guys did. That's super cool.
We'll fly down and do an episode.
We need to.
Why not?
I love automation, but this is insane. That's really cool.
Let me see how long this is real quick. I've got a video that kind of shows the summary of our process. And,
that'd be cool. You could show it.
I can do a screen share.
It's too bad these robots are so expensive. You're like, oh, I just bought my program. I'm like, I'm going to buy one and get it to fold my laundry or make sandwiches or it's like $250,000. I'm like, nope, I'll make my own. I'll wash my own dishes.
This is for some reason not loading, but I'll.
On a side note, while it's loading, did you know that Zach, I don't think you even know this. On our Brother DTX and the 600, we removed I don't know what you call it, but the coating on the pallets, and we actually use dual tack, low tack pallet adhesive, the tape, on all of our DTG machines. So it's a lot quicker. We just do that. So
it doesn't move, eh?
Doesn't move at all.
That's cool.
So we do that for all of our machines.
Yeah, what happens if sometimes if you don't have the gripper kits, the gripper kits, that's why we have to sell those, because what happens is the garment actually shifts as it's printing, and then the white underbase will peek out underneath the the color, the CMYK. So
exactly.
It's a cool
so
tip.
we have that on our gripper pallets.
Cool.
So we put them on, so it's stick, and then we lock it tight. Is it the gripper pallet or the Loctite pallet? How do you call it?
No, that's the gripper kits. That's what I'm saying. We have to sell those gripper kits.
Yeah.
Because if not, the garment shifts too much.
Well, we use both. So we have the gripper kits on all of our pallets.
Okay.
So we stick on the shirt on the pallet with the low tack, dual tack pallet tape, and then we grip it. So we know it's never going to shift. It helped a lot for all of our registration on the Brothers.
That's a problem with any of the the way that DTG companies got around that, which is also annoying. The Cornettes, the old Epsons, they have the clamping system that comes down, but it's so annoying every time you have to pull it, lift the clamp, pull it out, pull it back down. So that's why they came up with the gripper kit, which is a much better solution. But that's really cool. I mean, I never even thought about using that. So
we use that every single day on our DTG machines.
Andrew, you got to promote that now. Low tack, dual tack, specifically made for DTG friendly pallet tape.
Well, the low tack is awesome for that. And you can't put aerosol right on your DTG because it's
No,
going to
God,
shoot.
no.
It's going to shoot in
Yeah.
the heads. So
Yeah,
when I
that'd be
first had that, I was like,
disaster.
oh, let's try that.
Oh,
I'm
very
excited
cool.
to see this video.
Yeah, it's 3 minutes here, and I'll kind of explain it. Was that kind of loud?
Yep.
Can you guys hear the audio?
No.
Okay. Well, that's okay. It's just a soundtrack.
You'll have to narrate it.
Okay. Yeah, I'll narrate it for people listening. So we've got our mixing here. This is the 110-gallon mixer.
Wow.
And it's pretty cool. When it's done mixing, it rolls over to a discharge press. So it lifts the whole batch up over a 55-gallon drum. And then it pushes the adhesive out of the tank through a valve into the drums.
Very cool.
So then after it's mixed, we go to coating. And this is that coating line that coats rolls 5 feet wide by 3 miles long.
So the actual jumbo rolls, you just buy those from somewhere, obviously. You're not making the
So that's
jumbo
the finished roll winding up on the coating line.
Yeah.
And it's all temperature controlled, and the adhesive is UV cured, which kind of makes it different. And then this is the slitting. This is one, Zach, you were talking about.
Yeah. This is
So
cool.
right after the rolls are coated, they go on the slitting machine. And if they're like full adhesive rolls that don't take a non-adhesive area on them, then they go straight from here to packing. If it's something where we deaden the adhesive and make it like a split tape or a quick rip tape, it'll go on to the next step.
Cool.
And that's
that's
a
where it
sound
sounds
cage on the slitter. With a 5 foot wide roll unwinding really fast, it's like the train. So that sound cage prevents that noise. So then this is how we make the adhesive deadened on the split tape.
You said it's all UV cure, right? So it just cures instantly.
Yeah, sorry, I've got the audio of this video that's so loud I can hardly hear what you're saying.
I was saying,
but yeah,
and you
this
said
is
the
part
inks
that's
are all
deadening
UV
the
cured?
adhesive.
You said all the inks are UV cured?
Yeah, the adhesive is UV cured.
Yeah, so it's like instant cure.
That's insane. Zach, we
I can
definitely
mute
need to
this.
go and do a show there. I want to see this running. That's nuts.
Yeah, so then this is the robot part. So all the rolls go to a central packing area, and we'll add in more and more lanes as it gets closer. So then this is Robbie. So he takes the rolls from the lanes and sets them into a 6-pack formation. Then it goes through this automatic L-bar sealer. Those go through a heat tunnel, so the film is shrunk around the rolls. And then this one stacks up the 6-packs into different lanes. And this arm grabs the boxes when a lane is ready, opens it up.
Wow.
And then the boxes get
So
filled
cool.
with the 6-packs.
Did you have to program all this?
Oh, yeah.
Where'd you
What
learn how to
program
do
do you
this?
use to program it?
Yeah.
So the universal robot arms come with their own programming software, and each one has a tablet that's kind of like an iPad, and you program it directly on that iPad. You can see the tablets on the wall to the right there.
Yes.
And then this one
I would assume
puts
you need
it
to
on
be
one
very
of 4
patient.
pallets.
You gotta be very patient to get this dialed in.
Yeah.
I feel like I would give up after 30 minutes. I'd be like, I cannot
But Zach,
code
think
this
about it.
robot.
This is so.
No, it's incredible,
like,
but I feel like
it's
you have to
worth
be
it,
very
right?
Oh, totally. But I think to do any type of coding, you got to be super patient. Like it's not for everyone. Like I couldn't.
Yes.
I mean, how long did it take you to write the code to do those tasks?
To write the code, it wasn't bad, but the debugging is the killer. And the hard part is we've got guys here that can really help with the debugging, but we would run into issues where it's happening again and again. And if a box is glued a little bit funny, and we had it programmed around that different type of gluing, and we'd run into the carton sealer jamming or the L-bar sealer forming the 6-packs in a different way. It took a lot. It took about a year of very intense, just tweaking all the little variables until it's pretty much trouble-free. We run into about 2 faults in a day in the whole system. which we're
That's
happy
not
with.
bad.
We're no longer trying to fix it.
Yeah, that's minimal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ever get a robot chucking a box across the across?
We have had one try to pick someone up. The case stacking robot. It uses suction, and a lady was walking under it, and it came down trying to grab a box, and it grabbed the top of her head and started pulling.
That's hilarious.
That's funny.
So funny. Cool. So you guys are busy, clearly. One thing that we talk about, it just comes up over and over again, is the impact that DTF is having on the screen print space and the DTG space. But it sounds like your business is up from, you're saying that you're at an extra 30% capacity by introducing the automation. So like you guys are growing, right? You're not seeing much of an effect from the whole DTF impact?
I haven't seen any slowdown from the DTF. It's hard to tell, though, if we're just gaining more business than we're losing to DTF. It's hard to say for sure, but my hope with DTF is that it'll be kind of like DTG, not in the failure, but in that DTG brought a lot of people into the screen printing industry. And you would get a lot of people that would see a DTG printer and go, you mean for 20 grand I can start my own business and I can have a shirt printing shop and solve this problem for my community and print for my high school. And it got a lot of people into the industry, I feel like. And then when they get their order for 8,000 shirts, they can't do it on their DTG because it would just take too much time. So then they start to look into screen printing. And I know DTF is a lot more efficient. It's better than DTG, different in a lot of ways. But hopefully it helps do the same thing and just gets more people into the industry because it's easier to get in with DTF printing and less skill
It's actually
required, less knowledge.
Good point. Yeah, we obviously see it shutting down. Some DTGs are just collecting dust, or screen print shops are going all digital. But I never even thought about the reverse side, that because the barrier entry is so low, you have a lot of people that are getting in, and then they're going to have requirements for larger run sizes, and then, hey, screen printing's there. We know it's not going to get rid of screen printing, anytime soon. But that's actually a very interesting point. I never thought of it that way. We just looked at how DTF was killing everything, not how it's bringing people into the market. So there's another side there.
Yeah. So you never know. But
cool.
But it's obviously effective and useful.
So Andrew, to kind of wrap up, unless there's anything else that Sean wants to talk about, I'd love to have you at our Toronto Imprint show, because I think we definitely need to crown Canada's fastest PMI split taper. I think that'd be a lot of fun. So it'd be really cool if you could come out. I'll reserve a booth space for you and do some fun. We're always trying to figure out, we set up automatics the last 2 years. We actually just finished setting up a brand new Cobra in our Ontario facility, so that we'll probably take to the next show and have live printing going on there. But I think that'd be cool. And maybe you got to figure out a way to get the Australian dude in, because for him, his flight's going to cost him $2,000 to be announced like the reigning champ. But I think you should make him an offer that if he's willing to fly into Canada and he beats that time, that you give him the full flight value in PMITape. I think that's some decent incentive for him.
I like it. Yeah, I love it.
You got to send him a PM saying, "Hey, Zach from the InkPod podcast says if you fly into Canada and you win and you're the reigning champ, I will cover your entire amount,
give you
your entire flight in PMITape. $1,000. It's not enough. It's not enough for him, man. He's not going to come all the way from Australia. That's like what is it, like a 24-hour flight almost?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that'd be a lot of fun. Well, we'd love to have you.
I'll throw it out to him.
Yeah.
No,
Andrew,
thank you. I would love to.
Yeah. Appreciate.
What's his
Go ahead,
Instagram
Sean?
handle? I'm trying to find a PSI. Do you know? Like, everybody, go give him a shout out so he comes to Canada.
Yeah,
we need him at.
He's gonna be like RB Digital and InkPod is saying that you have to fly to Canada next January. He's like, what is going on here?
I'm trying to write. I'm trying to find him because I want to write to him. That 6 seconds is insane.
I'll tell you here. It is dark room. Well, no, he changed it evidently. Hang on, let me.
Well, you can let us know afterwards. I'll put it in the link. Everybody, let's go give him a shout out because we want to see a video of that 6 seconds. I don't know if you ever taped the screen completely. but 6 seconds is insanely fast.
Did you try it, Sean, at the event?
I never tried it, but I've taped a lot of screens in my life, and always with PMITape, and like I feel like I'm pretty good, but
What do you think
not
you'd be at?
close to 10 seconds.
10 seconds is good.
Yeah, but 6 seconds, man, like you have to flip the screen, like that's fast. What size screen? Like that's insane.
So
yeah, Andrew.
His Instagram handle is darkroom_dementor.
Right.
And he's at PSI Screen in Australia.
Cool.
Yep, I got it.
Shout out to those guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Andrew, listen, thank you very much. I mean, I've had a great 6 or 7 years in business with you. You've always been a very, very solid supplier of ours and supported our initiatives and our giveaways, our RB Digital contests. And it's great to have you guys as partners. We really appreciate the relationship. I'm glad, you guys are continuing to grow and be successful. You guys definitely deserve it. It's nice to work with fun people, and you guys definitely.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way.
Yeah.
Thank you, Zach.
Yeah, awesome. So, yeah, thank you very much. Sean, any closing words before telling people to tune in next week?
Thank you for coming along and sharing a bunch of business knowledge as well. I mean, I think your super business and like insight is super interesting and really knowledgeable for us screen printers that sometimes we want to look at the woman in the red dress and take every opportunity that's out there, right? So great example from PMITape. And Andrew, thank you for taking the time to jump on this podcast. And hopefully everybody like this episode. I think it has a few nuggets, and we'll see you guys next week. So
Sweet.
Thanks again,
Take
Andrew.
care,
Thank you,
everyone.
guys. I appreciate it.